If you've ever watched a child stare at a page of arithmetic without knowing where to start, you've seen the struggle of early math. Teaching these concepts through static memorization and worksheets often makes the subject feel abstract and unreachable. The solution is to move the lesson off the page and into the physical world. By setting up a comprehensive multi-station math workshop, we can make these fundamentals something students can actually touch. This framework follows a clear progression. It starts with basic non-standard measurement using everyday objects and builds towards solving addition and subtraction problems by physically modeling the math. Utilizing interactive stations changes the way students perceive numbers. Instead of a repetitive chore, math becomes an active exploration that keeps them moving and engaged. Preparation starts with the tools. You'll need to create measurement pouches for each student, filled with identical manipulatives like Unifix cubes or uniform paper clips. Using the exact same items ensures that measurements remain consistent across the classroom. There are 4 rules students must follow for accurate results. First, consistency. You cannot measure with mixed-sized blocks. Second, alignment. Units must start perfectly flush with the edge. Rule 3 is continuity. There should be no gaps between units. Finally, no overlap. Blocks must sit end-to-end in a straight line for a true count. Before you start the workshop, show your students these 4 mistakes. Demonstrating how a measurement fails when rules are ignored helps them self-correct during the activities. Enforcing these standards is necessary for the workshop to function. Without these rules, the measurement students record won't be accurate, and the data they compare later will be invalid. Station 1 focuses on precision. Provide printed sheets with insect graphics that have specific markers, such as a dot on the head and a dot on the tail. Students line up their Unifix cubes between those 2 dots. This simple, bounded task helps them practice steady placement and counting fluency. Once they are comfortable with structured counting, move them to Station 2. This is an open scavenger hunt where they apply their skills to the room around them. Have students gather common items like glue bottles, toy cars, or markers. They then use their cubes to measure the length of each object they found. This setup allows students to see the visual difference between quantities. When a 3-block stack sits next to a 7-block stack, the difference in scale is obvious. They are learning to interpret data without needing to rely on symbols yet. Use this side-by-side comparison to build their vocabulary. Prompt them to identify which objects are longer or shorter based on the blocks used. This sequence connects counting to analysis. By quantifying and comparing objects from their own environment, students learn that math is a tool for describing the physical world. Station 3 incorporates gross motor skills by having students measure their own bodies. Students work in pairs to trace each other's outlines onto large sheets of butcher paper. Before they measure, have them estimate. Ask them to guess how many non-standard units, like a shoe or a book, it will take to reach the top of their outline. Then they perform the measurement. They line up their chosen units from the outline's heel to the top of the head, ensuring alignment and continuity. This station is intentionally active and loud. Using full body movement helps students physically experience concepts like height and distance. In Station 4, we transition from measurement to arithmetic using printable mini-books. Students use the same Unifix cubes they've been measuring with to model word problems. If a story says someone adds 2 items, the student physically adds 2 cubes. Ending with these mini-books links reading comprehension to math. The cubes act as a bridge, allowing students to see the logic of an equation before they have to solve it on paper. Setting up these stations changes the environment of the classroom, turning a standard space into a lab for active learning. Students have followed a path from counting small blocks to tracing their own height, and finally to modeling arithmetic problems. Experiencing these numbers through sight and touch reduces the pressure of rote memorization. They aren't just reciting facts, they are observing how quantities change. These hands-on stations provide a physical reference for the symbols used in math. This gives students a clear understanding of what numbers represent, which supports them as they move into more abstract work.